Hey everybody, it's Kurt from the Electric Vibe Podcast. How's everybody doing? Yeah, I'm not worried about how my hair looks or whatever right now. It's Friday morning, relatively late than I usually sleep in here, but it's got a little after 9 o'clock in the morning. So last night, I went to see Sheila E. and the E Train with one of our guests that was on, Mr. Michael Gabriel, who I got to speak a few words and he got to sign a few autographs afterwards once the ladies found out who he was. One young lady was very disappointed he was married, let me tell you that. So, Michael, if you watch this, you're getting people in their feelings, not just in your guitar playing. So, it was a great show last night. Um, there were some instrumentals I recognized from some of her E Train records. I can't remember the specific titles at the moment, but they threw all kinds of stuff in. The late shows are always the best to go to because it starts getting improv-y, and she did Yellow Submarine by the Beatles at one point. They did some Frankie Beverly and Mays. They did the Staple Sisters, I'll Take You There, with none other than Lynn Mabry on vocals as well. And for those of you playing at home, I'm catching up on a lot of 70s funk history. And Lynn Mabry, of course, was one of the OG brides of Funkenstein under George Clinton's umbrella there. And let me tell you, she looks great. She sings fantastic. The woman's got top to tails and then the bottom registers as well. There was a lot of warmth on stage. The interplay of the musicians, and I'm forgetting, Damalanta is the last name of the female keyboardist, one of two on stage. The gentleman that did double duty on keyboards and drums when Sheila sang A Love Bizarre, and maybe a couple numbers, sat in. The bass player she's had for a long time, whose name is just out my head, and he's been playing with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and has been with her since 1990, was a fantastic group of musicians. And not to say least of which, Michael Gabriel. Michael is kind of stylistically, especially on his stuff, but stylistically, you can hear him leaning into that Santana thing. And, which fits perfectly for what Sheila does on her solo stuff. And kind of like Santana meets Joe Satriani, if you're familiar with who Joe Satriani is. He puts a little more shred in his Santana licks. Michael does. It was great to see him. I did not get to see Auntie Sheila. They didn't have any merch to sell like they did 2 years ago when I saw him at the City Winery in Philadelphia. Maybe I didn't mention that point. There was a private event going on above the restaurant level, bar level. The facility for shows and stuff is down below. It's a basement level thing. And it's lovely. Servers are nice. The wine is great. It is called City Winery. And I had this bourbon barrel aged Merlot along with one of their skillet cookies with vanilla ice cream. Come on, man. Shoot. That was some good stuff, man. Let me tell you. And the audience was even nicer. I will say that, and I posted this on Facebook on my personal page. I will say that at one point, Sheila wanted to pay tribute to her mom. She says is Creole. So they started doing a little bit of When the Saints Go Marching In, and at one point, she stops the band, and I erupted out just because I thought they were going to keep going, and I erupted out into a high note. One of my, and Auntie Sheila caught wind of that, looked at me, handed the microphone over, had her band redo the cadence for When the Saints Go Marching, points to me, and I do it again, but I do a little like a gospel, that kind of thing. I call it the Good Times cadence, if you all remember the TV show Good Times, for those of us who are advancing in years or becoming less young, as evidenced by my hair and jowls. So anyway, I had a blast last night. After I participated in those high class shenanigans, after the show was done, a lot of people came up to me. Are you the boy that sang up there? I said, yeah. What did? Uh, Excuse me while I clear my throat. I might have said at one point to her, just being fun, not being cocky or anything, just having a great time, man. There was so much positivity in that room last night, and I don't have to tell you all what challenging times we live in, but it was a nice respite from all the craziness going on in the division and stuff, and all that. So at any rate, why don't you all check out Sheila's web socials, whatever you got to do, and see where she's playing. I thought they were playing in Hampton, Virginia. Thought that's what she said. Anyway, you know what to do. Google it or whatever you do these days. So at any rate, that was a great show. I wanted to go to the late show. There was much more ticket availability on a weeknight at a 9:30 show, and I was like, you know what? And she did about an hour and 10 minutes. Okay, didn't sign anything afterwards. I wasn't heartbroken about that. I get it, man. She's gonna be. She claimed she told the audience she's gonna be 68 this year. I mean, you did one show prior to us coming to see you. I don't know how she does it, man. She's the energy. The way you can tell she commands the band, the body language, the movement, that's what I live for when I go to see shows like this. There's this, being in a covers band and doing music myself, I would tell you there's nothing greater than that interplay between the musicians and you kind of develop a nonverbal band ESP. I don't know what else to call it. Yeah, there's facial recognitions and stuff and gestures you do, but sometimes you just look each other a certain way and you know what the other's thinking. And you just can't put your finger on it, but that's why those of us who bemoan the age of AI that we're technological adolescents with that we're going through, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We want to keep live music live and in person and engaging and all that. So please go out there and see a show. There's so many shows I wanted to see. I think the time is not far from me in New Jersey this weekend or tonight or the night before. I can't remember, but I know I saw them. So the Boys and Moore's Day of the Time. Hope you guys have a good show. Anyway, I know this is going to be on YouTube. Please look at our brand new episode that just dropped. It's been a couple weeks. Guys have been busy. I was on vacation for a short bit. We've all had things going on here, but we're back on the horse. So if you've been waiting, one of our fans messaged us on our Facebook page and asked, "Are you going to talk about D'Angelo?" And I'm like, I can't speak on as eloquently on D'Angelo as many of you can. I certainly knew who he was back in the day. And I certainly dig his music, and I didn't really listen to it probably like I should have and embrace the genius, but who better to have come on our podcast than a man who was his manager for 20 years, and that's none other than the Yoda of tour management, a father figure to many of these folks that he's worked with, including the likes of Chris Rock, Prince for many years, James Brown's publicist and then tour manager, an archivist, and wrote liner notes for James Brown's records and the Star Time box set, which he won a Grammy for back in the day. Alan Leeds, man. There's some great stories about James Brown, Prince, and yes, the late, great, well, all of them have passed, but late, great D'Angelo. Who shares a common connective tissue thread with Alan, and that is that at one point in Alan's life, how he got the James Brown gig was he was a radio DJ, WANT FM, if memory serves, in Richmond, Virginia. So that pretty much got him the gig when they talked about it. But in person all those years ago. But he was with D'Angelo for 20 years. So even with 2 albums, but like he said in our interview with them, and it was just Hucky, myself. Jay was busy with other work commitments. It was just an interview not to be missed, folks. There's some great stuff in there. He's working on some future projects, which if you listen to the episode, he'll tell you. But he's got some forthcoming projects going to come out in the form of a book, and so please, it's worth the hour and 30 some minutes that he spoke. A guy like Alan Leeds, with his pedigree, like Hucky put it, when you got a guy pedigree like that, you kind of let him go beyond the hour that you're trying. We try to do these in an hour format. Well, number one, we try to respect the person's time that we're interviewing, and number two, those of you watching, people's attention spans these days, but and that includes myself, but this is one that Alan's given Questlove like 6 hours worth of material over a span of a couple of years in interviews and stuff. And Alan's just got these stories, and his perspective on just things in life and just everything. It's just what a mensch. The word mensch really comes to mind, not just because he's got Jewish heritage, but he really embodies that mensch spirit. You can see why guys like him had the job that they had. And I'm going on 11 minutes here, but because it's worth it. But I wanted to spread light, love, and positivity to everybody. The world right now is an interesting place, and I think of those who have lost their food benefits and what have you, and I think there's a lot of stereotypes associated with who needs that aid. So you never know who needed food stamps way back in the day to get through sometimes, or unemployment, or what have you. As we approach Thanksgiving, and it gets a little more expensive at the Thanksgiving dinner table to host people this year, if you're doing that, or if you're going to somebody's house, try not to bring politics to the dinner table. Try not to bring any hatred or anything. No matter what side of the fence you're on, just try to be nicer to each other. That I have to tell myself this, because some of these distractions out there are trying to separate us all rather than unite us on purpose, and that comes in many different forms, unfortunately. But as Hucky always says, try to be kind to one another, and be kind, speak nicely to one another. As Jay always says, when the universe comes knocking, you got to answer that door, and that door knocked last night, man. That was a lot of fun. And of course, I like to always end by saying, rising tide lifts all boats. So let's raise each other up, keep each other afloat if need be, and peace and love to everybody. And if hopefully we'll have another episode or two out here before the Thanksgiving holiday, and then of course as we approach the winter holidays, I'm sure we're going to have some content for you in the not too distant future. But take care of each other. Peace and hair grease.